Today's episode of ContinueCast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download at audibletrial.com/continueshow. Over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, and MP3 player. Today we're recommending Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. Be sure to get your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/continueshow.
This is ContinueCast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of the ContinueCast, the twice-monthly podcast where we play a retro video game and let you know if we would continue or game over. My name is Paul.
My name is Nick.
I am Josh.
And this month we have an extremely special guest. This is something completely. This isn't from the inner circle of Continue folk. This is a new person. This is an actual guest.
This is an actual person.
This is an actual person.
After a year of doing this, we have a real guest.
Would you care to introduce yourself, guest?
Hello, friends. My name is Satchell, like a bag Drakes.
Yeah, boy.
Satchell is our friend. He does YouTube videos. He does graphic design. He does arts.
All of the things you've named, he does better than us.
Yes.
Quite true. Quite true. Which is why we brought him in to make our show better.
Let's get some true talent on this show.
Secrets out.
Well, glad to have you, Satchell.
I super appreciate you guys having me.
Dude, so this is a little... it's a little uncharacteristic for us to have a new guest, but we want to do this more. We want to reach out and have different people on. But also, you're coming in the middle of a episode about Psychonauts, which is the second episode about Psychonauts. So we played a little bit 2 weeks ago, or 4 weeks ago, or about a month ago. We started this game, but you caught up and you played a bunch, right, over the past couple of weeks. So we're going to try and jump in here and just sort of pick it up where we left off. Now, Satchel, we talked about the story and the history of this game a lot last time. I think what we want to really go into this time is we want to talk about the gameplay a little bit more.
Okay.
But we can still talk about the other stuff too. So
let's talk about whatever.
Talk about whatever we want. It's our show. So yeah, we're playing Psychonauts, which is Tim Schafer's cult hit. I got the vital stats here in case we need to refresh anybody. Came out in 2005 in April on
Banner
Xbox.
year.
Banner year. That was probably one of the worst years in video games.
Well, 4 was like the best, right? Like that's what everyone says. 04 was.
No, I didn't like 04 that much.
I thought it was like KOTOR came out, Halo, all that shit that people
It's been like
love.
dark ages for me since like 2000. No, since like 98.
Wow.
I haven't been happy since that year, I don't think, with video games.
Like with your life? Oh.
Well, that's the deeper problem, yeah.
Right.
So, no,
welcome to Psychology Cast.
It fits in nicely with the theme of this week. No, there's been some good games. 04 was a good year. I don't know. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a huge fan of the Xbox era, the original Xbox era. There wasn't a lot on there for me.
People are gonna throw you some hate for that one.
Man.
Hate.
I worked at GameStop that time. Games were a dark time for me that year, really.
In 05, you worked at a GameStop?
In 04.
Not 05, though, so you didn't get to see the
I was
Psychonauts.
out.
You were out by 05.
05.
You had a good 2 months, and you're like, I think I'm going to retire from the video game selling business.
Oh, my God.
Well, I got Salesman of the Month, like...
Did you?
11
Very nice.
or so times. Yeah, dude, I pushed those subscriptions, man.
Damn,
Wow.
dude. Pre-order those
pre-orders?
games, son.
Were people
Yeah, man.
pre-ordering back then?
What's that?
Were there people pre-ordering back then?
Dude,
Is that a big
were
thing?
they pre-ordering back then? They've been pre-ordering since like 1994, man. Yeah, they've been.
I'd like to pre-order Spyro, please.
Yeah, right?
I don't think we're going to sell out a Spyro kit. It's all right, but you can pre-order anyway.
Games are not that popular yet. They're going to be popular in like 8 more years. Don't worry about it.
Cult
right
classic.
Oh my God.
So yeah, this game came out in 2005, but it's been incrementally released on a lot of different systems over the years. For those who don't know, This game was made by Double Fine, the production company of Tim Schafer. They've made games such as Brutal Legend, Costume Quest, Stacking, The Cave. So they got a lot of...
we talked about stacking last time.
Yeah, we did talk about that.
Still can't believe he invented that game where you stack cups.
Perestroika dolls.
Perestroika dolls.
I don't know. That was what
Chernobyl dolls.
that's what Luke called them. So, Satchel, how do you feel about Tim Schafer? Are you a fan? Do you not play a lot of his games? What's your feelings on the man?
This was actually my first chance at playing a Tim Schafer game. I'm very familiar with the hype. I think just about
Did you not
everyone on
believe
the
it, though?
internet
That's
kind of
the
heard
question.
about his Kickstarter, and I was very interested in kind of diving into the kind of games that he makes and like the character that everyone seems to rave about, or at least that I seem to hear, and kind of figure out if it was hype or if there really sort of was this nice substance.
Right, but Satchel, did you believe the hype? That's the question.
I was pretty neutral on it.
Yeah, there's a lot of hype behind him, and the thing is, I don't know if you could call any of his games polarizing, but it seems like the people that love them, or they haven't heard of them, is basically the question, you know? So they're generally well regarded. So this is your first dive in. What did you think? What was your first impression of this guy's style?
My first impression was, well, before I even started the game, and it's probably terrible that in some way I'm a very visual person, so in some ways I do judge the book by its cover a little bit too hard. My first impression, kind of looking at some screenshots and stuff, I was a little bit like, man, I do not like this art direction at all. Like, it's so freaking odd. I don't know if I'm going to really like being in this space, you know? I don't know, not to sound like a gypsy or anything. I like exist in
Is
my
that a
games,
thing?
But like,
Gypsies do that? I don't like
Yeah, they're transients,
like-
dude.
I guess a granola or whatever. But, there were, I mean, I actually ended up falling in love with it very quickly. The visually, actually, and what was cool was like things like the asymmetrical faces, like the beady eyes, all the oblong anatomy of all the characters. It felt like a Halloween town in like full color or something.
Yeah, it's
you know?
like going into like a mask shop. Like at my grandparents had a store, and like we would put up the masks every year, and it's like just it reminds me of that, like just the crazy disgustingness. It's kind of pretty to look at.
Like are these people the same species? Kind of crazy,
right?
But also the Halloween town in like Tim Burton, like Nightmare Before Christmas, specifically was what I thought about. You found in like the demented children that have like, there's like this picket fence perk, you know, like a '60s Coca-Cola ad, but like also this like underlying demented kind of thing going on.
We were equating this to Tim Burton meets David Lynch a little bit.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of that David Lynch, like, you know, the happy 50s veneer with like the dark underbelly, you know, like the seedy, like there's some really fucked up shit going on here, actually.
Yeah.
And we're just sort of like hiding it. It's almost a repressed evil, you know?
I don't know if you guys saw it, but I think the most direct like connection that I saw was Dr. Lobato, the guy who, like the dentist guy who steals the brain.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Yeah.
He looks almost exactly like Dr. Finkelstein.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost to the T. I was like, all right, this has got to be a callback. It has to be.
Dr. Finkelstein from whatchamacallit, right? From Nightmare, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks exactly like him. I didn't remember his name, but I knew he looks, you're right, man.
Yeah, dude.
It's like spot on. There's a lot of, it feels like there's a lot of biting of that style, but I think it's got its own like quirk to it. It's kind of got like that Nickelodeon like mid 90s.
Yeah, like Real Monsters or even Ren and Stimpy a little bit.
When I was playing it the second time around, I was like, oh, this feels like Ed, and Eddie. Like, it feels like that. Where it's like this like fucked up world and like this weird like kids just rule this town, but there's like something bigger going on. But at the same time, like the character designs are like that. Like it's like Ed and Eddie, they're like caricatures. If someone like, it's like Tim Schafer was just like, all right, here's caricatures, my friends. Make characters out of these.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was just interesting.
Absolutely.
If this was a Nickelodeon show, I would watch the hell out of it.
Oh, if they had this humor and stuff,
yeah,
it's really funny.
Yeah, the humor like escaped me the first time playing. I was kind of just like, is this supposed to be funny? Like, I wasn't ready for it, and then now through this other playthrough, I was like laughing out loud at a lot of stuff. Like, I don't know if it just hit me better this time or what it was.
It's kind of like Adventure Time humor, but more like more literal, like more adult.
I was gonna say it's more adult. Yeah.
Like they'll in a cartoon, like they'll like have to mask the joke and like make it so little kids don't get it.
Right.
But in this, at one point, the kid's like, "I don't drink before noon," which is like the kid's like saying he drinks,
Yeah.
Like can't.
And they talk about like kids like dying and stuff too. Like they don't shy away from that, which is like nice. Like, I'm gonna murder you. Like Dogen is just like talking about how he's gonna like murder everyone in their sleep. It's they don't shy away from it. It's nice. It's nice to be treated like an adult.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the thing I liked about this game. I don't want to diverge too much from your initial impressions, Satchel, but something that I noticed is,
good.
I think a thing that they treat really well is sort of that trope of the adults don't know what they're doing.
Right.
Which is really easy to make the kids smarter than the adults, and the adults are a bunch of doofuses. They do it to an extent, but then at the same time, the adults do know what's going on. Like they know what they're up to, but also they're a little clueless, but not too much. They didn't lean too heavy on that trope, and I kind of like that. And it's like, I think if they did that when you do stuff like that, like, oh, you're smarter than the adults here, then it kind of like play it. Like you're saying, it kind of panders to you almost in a way. It's like, look how smart you are.
What was really cool was the subtlety of that, because you kind of ran into these different. That when you say adults, like you're referring to like Oleander and Cruller.
Yeah.
Like I loved finding and I looked forward to finding those piggy safes. They would kind of hop around like each safe. That was really interesting. It added this very interesting layer of progression where you got to peer into sometimes the dark past of those coaches. It was cool seeing that like Mila and Sasha were once together and partnered. And like it makes it seem really weird when you first approach Mila and you're like, oh yeah, Sasha sent me to you. He said that you're very qualified. She was like, wow, like I can't believe he said something like that. Right. You kind of wonder, like, was there a rocky road? Was it, I don't know. Maybe that's peering too much into it. But it was cool seeing like that level of transparency in there.
Yeah, there's a nice like subtext to it, and it builds the world out, and like there's a history to it, and I like that it sort of relates to like what teachers do with kids, where they have to put on this like professional veneer, where they're like, I'm very, I'm not a person, I'm a teacher,
Yeah.
Right.
And then you get to sneak inside of their head, see their demons, and then go even deeper and, like you said, find those vaults, and then you see even more stuff that you would never see as a kid.
Yeah.
Like that like their romantic relationships, their like their horrible pasts and stuff like that. Oh my god,
there's one that I found in Mila's like the go-go dancer chick. Mm-hmm. Like I found one like in her safe was like the Viewmaster thing where she like had all these kids and she left, and then she came back and the house was on fire, and like she's like, oh my god, my kids are dead.
Yeah.
Right. And then I fell into this thing, and I fell into like her like nightmare. And like there's like burning shadow figures that are like, why did you let us burn? Save us. And I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here and go back to go-go dancing on the ball.
It feels wrong. It feels like you walked into somebody's like room. When you walk into like a room that you're not supposed to be in someone's house, and
it's like super voyeuristic.
Yeah, and you're like, and you get that feeling that like you're like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Yeah, I need to leave.
I got that feeling from that. You're just like, oh, this is wrong. This is wrong.
Is that how you feel when you come over to my house, Paul?
That's how I feel in every part of your house.
That's pretty fucked up, dude.
I'm invading a sanctuary.
It's because I like it when you're at my house.
That's true.
See,
I'm gonna move in.
I fixed it.
I'm gonna move in and ruin this house for you.
It was kind of nice though, because like there are like standard feelings that you feel in a video game. You're like, okay, this is anxiety, this is anticipation, this is adrenaline, this is
those are the
fear.
Emotions. Yeah, those are the emotions that they're good at.
Yeah, those are like your like fight or flight ones, and those are easy to pull out of like anything in any situation. But like this is one of the few games that we've like I think I've ever played where like I got that feeling and it was like, oh my god, I'm playing a video game. This doesn't matter. It's not like It's not like this is real, but it's a real feeling that I'm feeling. So that was like way to go on that feeling of of emulating that feeling.
Well, that's a really good point, because like I think we play a lot of games, and not one game I think that we've ever played for this podcast anyway like has ever had so much run the gamut of feelings. Like you don't get like a funny game ever. Like that really never really happens. because every game now is like super serious.
Because games are serious
and,
business,
and right, and it's like really or dark and like scary. Like you said, Nick, like there's always that like apprehension there because it's a game and you have to win, and if you lose, you don't want to, you know.
Right.
But like this game really has like a lot of different turns to it. Like you're in like a comedy, and then you're in, like you said, you're in like
this weird tragedy,
like a horror movie.
And it's
so
like
weird.
pulling that feeling out. Like getting that from a piece of art is always nice. It's a nice feeling. Like at the Philly Art Museum, there's this Marcel Duchamp installation. Marcel Duchamp. But basically, what it is in this like back
room. I think the Du's
room.
silent. Actually, I think it's just Champ.
Oh, Marcel Champ.
Okay.
Oh, Marcel Champ. So it's in this like secluded room. It's almost like a closet kind of, and you walk into this darkened room, and there's this big wooden door, like you would see on like a barn, and there's a sliver that you can that has like an eye hole in it, and there's like light pouring out of it. So you're like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? So you like walk up and peer into it, and you peer into this scene that's like grass on the ground, this like beautiful sky, and then this woman, like, you don't know if she's dead or whatever, but like her like legs are spread, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
And then you have to
But then you look again, and you're like, that's fucking hot.
Then you're like, oh man, I hope there's no security cameras at this art museum. But no, but like when you get a feeling,
we just ruined that man's art.
No, he did it to himself, Paul. Signing urinals and shit.
Yeah.
Smart joke right there. No, I only know that because of Rebecca. But I like when a piece of art can do that for you. It can make you feel like not a primal feeling, like a society feeling.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting.
It's when they paint with the non-bold colors,
right?
You know.
Yep.
They use the other shades, and you're like, oh, I don't see that shaded very often.
No,
That's nice.
There's other things for me to feel. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that got real deep for a
Is that
second.
is that in the room where they have the porn? There's like the X-rated art at the museum. Have you ever seen that?
Well, Josh, it's all X-rated at some point.
Yeah.
It all is.
Art.
Art censorship. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, his stuff is where... So, he, like, signed, like, a urinal.
Yeah.
And, like, put that in there. And that was
I haven't
like,
been in... I don't even know.
He does, like... I don't think he does anything like that.
But like, when you look at the X-rated art that they had... It might have been at the Met. I don't remember. Museums. You, like, look in, like, these, like, binoculars, like, into this thing, and you see the porn... But then you realize that, like, everybody knows what you're looking at.
Right.
So you're like, oh, okay, I saw it. And you don't want to look again because you're like, you don't want to be like that guy, you know?
No, that's when you get naked.
You do want to be, yeah. You want
That's
to
when
take
you
your
clothes
clothes
off,
off.
and you go, deal with it.
Yeah.
All right?
Social experiment.
Yeah, man. You say, like, I'm not...
That's art.
I'm making art right now.
Right, performance
I've
art.
made it art.
Dude, it is, man. That's a good call. It's like, it is like a social experiment. You know, it's nice.
Well, all art is a little bit of a...
Yeah, you want to see that picture? There's that picture.
Okay.
I can't see it.
What? Oh, we should send this.
That's beautiful.
What's it called? I'm going to send it to Satchel.
Okay, yes,
Satchel, do you know what he's talking about?
No, I don't think so.
Well, get ready for some nudity, Satch.
Okay, look up Marcel Duchamp, Paul.
Yeah.
And then it's ETANT DONNES with lots of flourishes and stuff.
I think he references this in. I think William Gibson references this in Neuromancer, actually.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I was
like,
just
look up
reading it, and he was just referencing.
Oh,
this
that's funny.
painting,
The Google images, like, it shows you like people walking up to this doorway and like looking in it and stuff. Send Satchel a link to it real quick.
Hope you got safe search off.
But yeah. So, anyways, so that's the picture.
That's the picture for use at home.
Well, that's what that moment was like when you get in there and you're like, I shouldn't be seeing this.
But there's also that weird curiosity you're talking about. You're like, I shouldn't be here, but I kind of want to know more information and understand this.
Yeah.
You know, it's this weird curiosity, fascination thing that you feel.
Yeah.
Satchel, what did you think about that? I mean, did this game make you feel any different emotions, or was it like a pretty general platformer for you? Like, was it, how did it feel?
No, I don't think that this was general. It felt pretty personal. And you said that you guys wanted to focus on mechanics. I did have a couple of thoughts on
You could talk about whatever.
Yeah, I'm having fun talking about this. I don't care anymore.
Yeah, dude, this is great. You say whatever you want to say.
No, it's fine. No, yeah, it's cool. I'm totally following.
Luke's not here. We can do whatever the fuck we want.
Cats away.
Yeah, I think maybe because, and I could be premature saying this, but I think especially during the PlayStation 2 generation, I think I may have just played very few like Western original IPs like this. So to run into one like this, I find myself getting very drawn to like all the different references, whether it's a callback to a cartoon or a movie or a style or something that I'd sort of seen before. That I definitely, more than ever now, like I can see the differences between a game developed over here and a game developed on the East. Right. So like the narrative was definitely a very personal. It was a very personal experience, and by personal experience I don't mean like I was able to relate to everything in it, but I think if there were a message, I kind of got it.
Yeah.
I loved how there were big things and there were small things. We kind of talked about the big things, and I think last time on the first episode, you guys kind of talked about like the big things in the narrative that sort of stick out and are personal, interesting to think about. As far as the smaller things, or maybe the overlooked things, I'm not entirely sure. I loved how the mechanics of the game reference very humanistic principles. Like for example, like Raz's problems are embodied by a huge monster in his mind. Like when he first entered his mind, it's like this huge monster. But when he sees it in someone else's mind, it's less intimidating. And I thought it was cool how he was like, why is it so? And so I think it was Sasha who was like, well, the difference is that problems seem larger in our mind than they actually are. I thought that was cool that they sort of did that.
Like the Boggart from Harry Potter 4-3.
Yeah.
Everyone's scared of their own thing, and like, except for that one girl in Harry Potter who has that creepy clown Jack in the Box.
That's just terrifying to everybody.
That's the most fucked up thing I've ever seen.
But you got problems, girl.
Yeah. Your problems are everyone's problems.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. That was definitely a cool, like, it's a very fun theme that he got to play with. It's cool that he chose this, like, this,
the mind,
yeah, it's a really rich playground for him to like frolic in,
Do you think that he did that like on purpose though? I mean, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter ultimately, because if you feel that way, then it is, in a certain sense. But like, that's like extremely deep, and it's hard.
It's a nice excuse to get like really cerebral without turning people off or making it seem like, whoa, this is too heavy for me. I just want to play a game, guy.
Right.
We also get to make fun of it too, because you can make it be like a monster. And what does he throw, like a toilet at him or whatever?
I think it spits a toilet.
Or the head. No, it's the head.
The scuba head.
The scuba head.
That's right. The scuba head. That's what it was.
Which are toilets.
Yes. Head toilets.
Head toilet.
Yeah. What other small things did you have? Or anything?
I thought it was cool that the theme of mind over matter plays into everything, because I mean there's such a big emphasis on the mind. Like it plays into everything to the point where personal fears trump special abilities, like that you actually get in the game. Like Raz's fear of like his family curse of drowning in water is so strong that it overwrites his ability to travel on it, even though he gets the ability to technically travel on water.
Yep.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is really interesting in that it's a nice like hero's journey too, because it could like his love interest gets kidnapped and then therefore has to like overcome that, like pretty much get like submerged in this water. Like there's that level where
in it,
where you're like in that bubble and you have to like,
he literally goes into the belly of the beast.
Dude,
literally goes into the belly of the beast.
Oh man,
and it felt monumental, didn't it? Like it's like, oh man, like I'm really facing my fears here.
Well, the awesome thing is that you go into the belly of the beast and you become this gigantic monster.
That's a really nice
right
moment. and you're terrorizing the monster. Like I just love that. Like,
what an interesting turn of events though. Like that seemed like what a great excuse to like get a scene like that in there. I would have never guessed that.
It's another moment where they play on that mental thing, like you're saying. Like he is so scared of this thing at first, and then he goes out inside of it and finds out that it's actually more scared of him than he is of it.
Yeah,
like it's more horrified of what he's going to do to it than what he's afraid of. And it's cool how they like do these like inversions like that when you go inside someone's brain. Everything like the outer veneer is like stripped away and you see what the person's really like. It's so cool how you can do that.
Right. My like gut reaction was like, all right, you guys are doing a Godzilla thing. Okay, I guess we're doing Bart's Nightmare now. You know, like it's gonna be like a different world every time.
Right.
But like then when you start thinking about it and playing with those things, and you're like, oh, all the people are that fish monster, and they're all terrified of it, and they're all like bowing down to this like psychic presence that they're just powerless against it. You know what I mean? And then there's like that small group that wants to like fight against it, and it like when you boil it down to those parts, it's like, wow, this is really smart and like thought out and really like really well planned out and really clever.
It makes more sense than a lot of video games make in a very strange, weird way.
It's so bizarre because like it's like all these mirrors facing all these other mirrors because like, the juxtaposition.
That's what it is.
The juxtaposition of like the goofiness and the seriousness is so wide. Like it's such a crazy game, and then the seriousness is like maybe the most serious game I've played. You know, besides I can't think, maybe BioShock or whatever. But like at the same time, like. In my head, I'm kind of like, you know, but it's like you said earlier, like it's sort of ugly to look at, kind of like it's not really like Tim Burton is not really like my style. Like I don't really like that. But then you think like, well, that's what you're doing when you play the game is going into Tim Schafer's head.
Yeah.
So
it's another like meta.
It's another thing.
It's another like meta thing, like with BioShock Infinite,
right?
Where like you're playing the game, you're in you're following the linear path in that game. This is like, you're going inside of a man's head, and you're playing inside of the worlds that exist inside of him, and his fears and obsessions and everything.
It sort of like assuages any negative things I have said. You know what I mean? In the first episode.
Oh yeah, so you're off the hook now for anything that you said about.
I take it all back. I didn't know this was a fucking Nuremberg trial, Paul.
Welcome to the Nerdcast. No, I know exactly what you mean, Josh, because like once we played that Godzilla level, that's when things started turning around for me, because like the level before is all about, all right, well, this entire level is set up to help you learn how to use the ball and the levitation. It's like, okay, I get it. But then there's those little nuggets like the burning house thing.
I love that level because that's like, I love her level is it's a nonstop party because she's just repressing all of these horrible things that happen in her life.
Right. But once you get
childlike and
it's so dark.
But you get to that stuff, that's when you start to appreciate it. But then like once we got to like the Godzilla level, that's when I was like, okay, now I get it, and now I appreciate it. So that made like the next level, like the Milkman. Did you guys play the Milkman? The Milkman level is out of fucking control. And like it's so smart because it's another level set up to help you master another skill. You get the clairvoyance thing that lets you see things for what they really are. And
the badge thing, the little
the next badge you get, you use it. It's like your third eye that lets you see all the thing. So like it takes place in this crazy guy's head, and the world is like distorted.
Paranoid schizophrenic's head.
It's so interesting and it's so like crazy because you see like normal things that are all like perverted and warped.
You see yourself.
Yeah.
And it's fucked up.
It's so crazy. And then you see it for what it really is, and you're like, oh my god, that makes so much sense. And then like all of the enemies are like the guys, and they're just like they keep like saying all these normal things. They're like, I am a road worker doing road work things. Right. The sign is my power. And they say like all this crazy
that's
shit.
That's how they identify who they are.
Right. And that's like it's who like a crazy person.
What's that, Satchel?
No, it's so hyper conscious. Like it's almost like yeah, go ahead.
No, but like like to a crazy person, that's what like a quote unquote normal person to a quote crazy person. That's what a quote normal person
right.
It's just like I'm this thing that identifies me.
Right.
It's so smart. I just like I had like a ear to ear smile like playing it the entire time, like discovering that stuff. It's so good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant level.
You feel like you're in on this joke that like a lot of people are just scratching their head at, like, oh, it's just a game.
Right.
It's very cool. If Tim Schafer were a comedian, I feel like he would be if he did have a heavy hand in making this game, he would be one of those comedians where you laugh to your gut during the show, and then when you get home, like for a moment, you kind of question like your values and the way you kind of go about things. You know.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
The game kind of makes you like more sympathetic or more empathetic human being. Yeah. Because you're kind of like, wow, like if you think about like if you really could do this shit, like what you probably wouldn't go inside of a paranoid schizophrenic's head and then come out and be like, "Yo, dude, you're fucked up." You'd probably be like, "All right, I understand this a little more now."
Well, especially because you can go inside of his brain and then see yourself from how he sees you, and you're like, "Oh."
Whoa. And you see the way he looks at the world too, and you're like, "I understand that you can't process the way I process things because you literally can't see them the way I see them."
Right.
It's really, really smart.
Very subjective.
Yeah.
Right. Right. That I only got up to beating the milkman level.
Yeah, that's as far as I got. Yeah.
Is that how far you got? What about you, Satchel?
I got up to. I grinded all the arrowheads and bought the memory duster, some kind of duster to go in. But I never got any further than that.
Okay,
dude, grinding arrowheads. That's where it's at, man.
Yeah,
you just gotta look for them.
That was. Here's one of my problems with the game, and it's that era.
I know what you're gonna say.
This era of games. This is what I didn't like about games at this point. I love video games, and I've always loved them. But these years of 2003 to even a couple years ago, was just let's collect everything.
Yeah,
let's just collect everything. That's gameplay.
Right.
Yeah,
and I was okay with it. The reason I was okay with it is because I don't know about any other platformers that hand out these skills based on how much you work to get them, as opposed to story beats. Mm-hmm. Usually it's okay, you're going to get a new skill for this level, and they kind of do that with this.
Right.
At times,
it's very RPG-ish. If you use a certain ability, you just get better and better and better at it.
Exactly.
And stuff like that.
And that's I kind of liked how they had that. They gave you the ability to, if you wanted to, grind ahead, get levels, and gain more abilities to make the things easier for the levels easier for yourself. But so that made grinding and collecting things okay. But then there were points like you just said, Satchel, where you have to grind the arrowheads to get that duster. Right. And I'm just sitting there and I'm like, I don't want to spend a half an hour looking for these great arrowheads, It
slowed me down. At that moment, I was like, oh yeah, this is a video game.
Yep. Yeah. Right. Yep.
You're like, Aaron's time.
Yep.
That's the exact thought. We're I think that's why I have a lot of problems with video games, because I get so wrapped up in the story and I'm like, I want that to unfold. I don't want to do things to get rewarded with more story. Just give me more story.
Right.
They're meaningless. They're literally just time input that you do to get this reward.
Exactly.
To extend playtime.
Unless you're a completionist and you wanna get all that stuff, but a lot of people aren't. I don't. Yeah. I don't think I am.
And I hate that premise of bonuses. It doesn't translate well into any other art medium. Not that it should, but for example, pre-ordering. Best example: pre-ordering a book and getting a bonus chapter.
Right.
You don't. It doesn't happen with books. You get the whole story because
that's
the story
what it is.
Meant something.
And you read the whole thing because that's the thing. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And with a game, you play more of it, and you should play more of it because it's its own reward, not because you want something else. If the gameplay is good enough, you're gonna complete it because it's its own reward. What's the Super Meat Boy? Great example of a game that it takes a lot of work to complete, but you want to complete it because that game is so
difficult.
It's so good. It's so good that that it's its own reward, and the mastery of it is so good. But there's no mastery of going around and tapping your button until you find the arrowhead in the ground.
Yeah.
Well, it's frustrating, and it sucks that a lot of mediums are take. I don't know if it's just video games that started that, but now other mediums are doing that. DVDs have done that for a few years now, where they're certain stores get exclusive rewards for it. The prime example is the new Star Trek movie comes out, and the regular purchase of it just gives you the movie and a few special features. If you buy it through iTunes, that's how you get director's commentary.
Right.
If you buy it from Target, you get another different set of special features. If you buy it from Best Buy, you get a completely different set of special features. It's just give me the thing. I don't want to do all that other stuff.
It's I care about this. Isn't that enough? And I'm giving you my money.
Right. Well, you just said it. It's money. They're we can spread this out and make more money.
Yeah.
We can milk this fucking stone for all it's worth.
Yeah, and it's these companies trying to build brand loyalty, and that just equates to more money.
iTunes. Well, I better start using iTunes now.
Yeah.
Well, it's actually just you just said with the book, man. It's when you play a game that's so focused on story, for me, I just want that. It'd be like you said, man, buying a book, and they're flip 10 pages to get to the next chapter. It's like, well, just give me the next chapter, man.
And I got it from Borders, so I get a new cover.
I feel like, in games like this where like there's like a store and you can buy like all these certain things, like it's way too upfront, where like that's like one of the first things you go to is you're walking around and you see the school store or the camp store or whatever, and you're like, well, I need these things now, But if they were like extremely difficult to get, maybe it would be better.
Well, if it was like Zelda, where like
it's hidden,
where you go on an adventure to get a thing, and then you get it, and you're like, I almost died getting this thing.
I literally almost died.
Yeah.
But in this, it's I bought it. It's just like real life. It's just like real life. Like I grinded away and I bought it. And now I feel dead inside.
Consumerism, man.
Consumerism. Maybe it's a statement.
Maybe it is.
Now we're giving Tim Shaver a little too much credit there.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. Like, is this like serious?
What's that, Satchel?
Even his mistakes are intricate.
Exactly.
Well, he set himself up. He's that smart. He set himself up that his mistakes would be pluses.
How do I do that?
Be a genius.
Oh, too late.
No, but
the most dickish thing I've ever said. No, it's not.
But like games from this era were just all about collecting. Like you're right, man. Like I'm thinking back now, like, and I think that's why I never really got into platformers, because they're all about that. Like Banjo-Kazooie is all about finding fucking
Banjo-Kazooie. Now Banjo-Kazooie has a lot of it, but with Banjo-Kazooie, for me, I liked it because the worlds were so beautiful and like and exciting, and like they drew me in, and I was like,
it was incentive to collect.
Yeah, like I want to see they built such a beautiful world that I wanted to explore every nook and cranny of it. Whereas this, I think these I kind of disagree with you. I like the style of all this stuff. I know you guys kind of said you started, it grew on you and whatnot.
Right.
I really like the style from the beginning, but I'll agree that the environments were a little, I don't know.
In this or in Banjo-Kazooie?
In this, they are a little repetitive. So in this, I wasn't as intrigued to go search it out, and that's why the collectibles in this, like you're saying, are just kind of like.
Well, when you walk into a quote room inside someone's head, there's things everywhere, and then you're like, oh, I gotta walk across the whole room just to get these, and they're like on top of a stove, and you're like, I gotta jump on this stove,
dude. In the Milkman one, where you gotta go, and it changes perspective on you. Does that Resident Evil shit,
and it's like, come on, I don't want to look around. I just get tired of looking at the things.
Right.
Then.
Yeah.
I don't want to get them. I go into a room and I'm like, I hope there's no things I have to collect in here.
Yeah.
You know.
I liked how I didn't like. It's weird because there's things in this game that I didn't like, but I can appreciate them for what he was going for. Like when you go into the rooms in the Milkman levels and the cameras are on the walls and they're like watching you, and you're like, and you're seeing it from that perspective. And I hated it, but it's a very video gamey thing. It's going back to like the fixed camera in like in the platformer or the adventure game or exploration game, and like I like that stuff. But at the same time, it like it just drove me nuts. Like, I don't want to run around, and you have to fight a boss like that.
Yeah, yeah, you do. Well, they're setting you up for it. They're making you learn how to adapt with it.
Yeah.
I think with just like platformers, like they're such a strange thing, because they're just okay. Well, there's a floating platform for some reason, and in any other video game, it's just like, why is that like that? But in this one, I'm like, okay, well, it's somebody's brain, and shit doesn't apply to reality. Like, like I look at like a Sonic level, and I'm like, all right, a loop is not a naturally forming thing that's going to happen in nature, especially 3 loops in a row. Come on, you know what I mean? But like with this, I'm like, well, it's someone's brain, and people's brains work in different ways, so they're going to be warped and weird and like look kind of weird.
That's a good point.
So I like excuse that in this game. Mm-hmm. It'd be like someone making like a movie now and be like, well, I want Inception shit to happen because Inception did it,
right?
You know, like Inception works because it's Inception,
right?
And this like works in my brain because it works because it's in someone else's brain.
Head, yes.
And they were intentional about it too. I mean, even think about when you revisit people's brains, you have the opportunity to leave them, and rather than them just giving you an option like in the prompt, like leave brain, instead you have to smell those salts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And even like when they ask like, are you sure? Like they don't say, are you sure? It's just like, wow, these salts smell really bad. I want to smell them. I thought that was really cool. They went out of their way to kind of make all these small parts feel like they were, you know.
Yeah, it's not so just lame.
Yeah, even the start screen. Like you don't pick where you want to go. You jump into like a door. It's cool.
Yeah.
Instead of it just being like exit area, and then you're like, oh, that's right, I'm playing a game again. I forgot. It's got a lot of character in that way.
He does a lot of work to cover up.
Right.
He sort of
The video game
represses
stuff.
the fact that it's a game.
This game might be a great example of how much work goes into having to cover something like that up.
Yeah.
I think like when we played BioShock Infinite.
Right.
They didn't care. Like I don't think they give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
They're just like, here, go this way.
They're just like, here's just don't get lost.
Just go this way.
Don't get lost.
Don't get lost and get mad and give us bad reviews.
Yep.
Just like, here's how you go.
Please a 10 out of 10, please.
Yeah. Let's talk about the gameplay a little bit more. We've been talking a lot about thematics.
I do not like platformers either.
Okay.
Which is why one of the reasons I game overed before.
Uh-huh.
I still don't like platformers. Nick, you made a really good point though that it makes more sense.
Right.
I don't know. I think I've liked like maybe one everyone played Sonic, everyone played Mario.
Yeah.
But at some point you're just like, oh my god, it's just repetitive and tedious, and it's the same shit over and over again.
You come to an obstacle and like most times when you come to an obstacle of any sort, you're like, okay, how can I overcome this? You know, how can your brain gets excited and you're like, all right, how do I defeat this? How do I tackle this thing that's obstructing me? And with like a platformer kind of like this, you're like, all right, well, now it's a net. Now I got to spend 2 minutes climbing. You know, it does become tedious, and they become like obstacles.
Right.
Like
well, it's like a physical, like a platformer is like a physical obstacle, whereas like in an RPG, a puzzle's like a mental obstacle.
Right.
And I like that more because I'm not a very physical person, except for in the bedroom. But
okay, good cover.
Yeah, thanks. But like, I don't know, like I can't handle the failure of falling off of something as well as I do if I just can't figure something out.
Yeah. The Milkman level
really
was nice. Yeah, I know, I agree. The Milkman level was nice because it was like a puzzle thing. You're like, all right, well, these guys are workers.
Right.
I need to get this. These people are... the Homemaker one was like, so like, I have to go. My stories are on now. I have to find the
Dude,
rolling
some of
pin.
the lines in this are great. Hold on, real
really
quick.
good.
Lungfishopolis, where whenever you break a building and they're like, "That's my mattress factory," and they're like, he's gonna get to the orphanage.
The orphanage.
And everything that you hit is a sort of store of some type that sells something that doesn't matter if you destroy all of it.
That was like, that's so good. Like all their lines that they would say, all the B characters became like, this is a game where like the ensemble is more interesting than the main character.
Right.
Where like everybody you encounter, you're like, I want to go to school with that guy. You know, like, I want to like follow him around. Like the city, there were so many lines that I was just like dying laughing. Like you you rescue the one guy from prison, and then the other guy's like, don't mind him. He's been in prison a really long time.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
You know what I loved that made me laugh really hard? That took me forever to realize is that you ran away from the circus.
Yeah.
Instead of running away to the
join
circus.
the circus.
Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
It's like brilliant. I was like, that's fucking genius. Like only in this game would you run away from the circus.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
That's so awesome.
That's good.
I don't know. I think I'd run away from the circus in real life too. I don't think I would run to
Like 1920 circus, awesome. Circus nowadays, not so
What
much.
about if you were the dude that rides the motorcycle in the giant steel ball?
Yeah, that guy.
I don't know,
Dude,
I saw-
That guy gets all the puss, dude.
Yeah, you might get all the puss, man, but life ain't all about puss, man. You gotta support yourself, dude. I don't think the circus is paying 6 figures to ride a motorcycle in a sphere.
I saw Freaks. I'm not joining that. Too much.
I loved how they kind of played fun at like Ultraman or like Japanese bosses in Lungfish. Was it Kochamara?
Yeah.
He would say his attack as a mighty ram.
Yeah. And they were like, it was
overly intricate combination.
Yep, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
That was great.
That was so good.
This game has no problem breaking the fourth wall. But
that,
the thing is, it's
that
not
was a
breaking
very
the fourth
Western
wall.
thing. Like just thinking that's ridiculous. Like no one on these would get that.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's funny because you think about it and you're like, oh, he's breaking the fourth wall. And then you're like, oh, wait, no, it's not breaking the fourth wall. Because actually there are a ton of other walls in the way. That it's, you know
there's no walls in your mind, Paul.
There's no walls, actually.
No walls in your mind. That's
my
true
God.
fact, dude.
Unless you're in Milkman, in which case...
There's just
a lot of
curvy walls everywhere.
Yeah.
But that was like a nice thing where you had where the puzzle thing came in. But at the same time, Josh, then it reminds you that you're playing a game because you have to backtrack and remember what house had these guys and
That's true. I didn't like that part.
Yeah, that part was annoying. But like, your mind starts set up. You're like, well, at some point, I'm going to figure out the telephone worker guys, and I'm going to do that, and that's going to be a thing.
It's thematic too. The streets are circular and spinny, and it's supposed to be like, this guy's in this like labyrinth of his own brain that he can barely make sense of, and he can't follow a single straight line of thought.
Right.
It's all jumping around and stuff like that. So I mean,
yeah, I did like all of these people that he thinks are people trying to hurt him and threaten him, and these strangers. Like okay, there's these like workers and these other people and these people who have quote unquote normal lives who are doing normal things. Like he thinks that these are the threatening people, but it's actually like the little girls, who are like innocent, who are actually the ones carrying around bombs and stuff. That's a really nice like twist on that.
Well,
part.
they sort of train you for that too, because in the earlier levels, they're like, "Don't hit the bystanders," and you get like in that first training area thing.
And those that brother and sister, they're pretty demented as well. Like the ones who say that, like I remember in the beginning, Raz is like, "Wow, they're really great people," and then but they plot to kill you throughout the whole game.
Yep.
Like if you ever talk to them, like they're chilling on this roof in the overworld, and like if you ever go up and talk to them, they're like, "Wait for it." They say like weird stuff.
Yeah, dude, it's messed up. There's some weird like
it's Tim Burton.
It's Tim Burton. Yeah, and I love how like once the adults are gone, like everyone's been captured, the whole place is overrun by these like psycho beasts. Like these like these telekinetic bears and these pyrokinetic panthers or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Oh my god, pyrokinetic panther.
They were super annoying,
dude. The panthers were the worst.
Like you're just walking around and then you see that dial above your head and you're like, oh my god.
We're like, what do I do? What do I do?
Yeah.
Then you catch on fire.
That's what happens in real life too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't go in the woods. Get too close to a bear.
No woods. Don't go to woods. Alexander Karzis wrote in and he said about the gameplay. Once you've played about 2 hours of this, you kind of see what the whole thing is about.
Yeah.
Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah, I agree.
What about you, Satchel? What do you say?
Yeah, but it sparks a curiosity. You want to kind of see how it unfolds, and it does unfold. Things I don't know. Things sort of revealed themselves more over time. You get the gist, though, I guess. Yeah.
I think it's okay. I mean, that's not a bad thing. I mean, because it has to be what it has to be. Like the game can't like cater to every whim that I think at every second of the day. You know what I mean? But I'm just not big into platformers, and even though this is like a really good game, and I'm sort of straddling the line here.
Are we all kind of like playing the story? Like I felt very much like I'm playing like. I'm here because I really like the story.
Right.
Like I'm playing that.
Yeah.
That's the only reason I'll play a game. Like I won't play Super Meat Boy because I don't care.
You get obsessed and you just want to you'll just rack your brain trying to
I get stuck and I'm like, fuck it. I don't want to do it anymore, which
right.
I don't know. I mean, maybe that's my type of personality or whatever, but like it has to have like a some sort of story for me to enjoy it.
Well, that's why like a game like this or like even Fez, which doesn't have a very overt story, but it's still there's a mystery that you want to uncover.
Yeah, exactly.
That's getting you to the end of it.
Yeah,
exactly.
For Fez, the game's never about gameplay. The game's about the story and trying to figure out these things. Like when I guess like 2 weeks ago, I was kind of like on the fence. I was kind of like, it's like all right. Like the game's fun, it's interesting.
Right.
I just don't want to go through the stuff to get through the story. But now for me, the story is very intriguing, and I like the turns that it's taking. So I'm almost willing to like keep going and like put the time in to get that reward of like what else is what's he going to do next?
Yeah.
He's like a filmmaker that I would be like, I like his stuff. I would just be intrigued to see what his next movie is because I'd like to see more from him.
Right.
Yeah.
And you will, because there's a lot of stuff. There's tons of other stuff that you could look at of his.
Yeah, I remember.
There's like this art history meta narrative in it. A lot of like Bauhaus stuff and different things that he tries visually.
It's nice.
Yeah, he's got a. I feel like we were talking about this last time, like his sort of authorship over this. You know, he's got like this. I feel like even if a lot of his games, and I think even more so recently, he's allowed other people to really put their stamp on games. Like Double Fine is starting to have other people head up production on titles. But I feel like there's always this underpinning of his sensibility, which is I think a lot of our sensibilities. I think we share a lot of cultural milestones with him. Because
we're old as hell.
Because we're old as hell. No, like Ren and Stimpy and like the Tim Burton stuff and the David Lynch stuff. Like Beetlejuice. You get that sense that like he sort of enjoyed all the same things we did.
Right.
So I think that's why these games speak to like us especially.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, like even though he might be like head of like a studio doing these things, and maybe he doesn't have like as much. He's spreading himself out to like take care of other things and stuff. You're still going to have that thing, it's like, even though like, Steve Jobs has died, we're still going to have that like Steve Jobs like feel on like Apple stuff for a while, just because like though, like I think auteurs like that, like tend to surround themselves with like like-minded people to like guide the vision in a certain way. And I think that those people like then get used to running it like that. Like Dan Harmon on Community is like, he's the showrunner. He's like shaping the way the show goes. Sure, he leaves and it's a little different, but it's still got those Dan Harmonisms that are still there.
Right.
And I think like any kind of like auteur is going to like impose those things on people.
Right.
Yeah. Do you guys ever wonder if maybe there is something to people like Tim Schafer or Steve Jobs where they've just sort of stumbled upon something timeless and that's part of the attraction in a kind of way? Like it feels like there's a lot of, even though there is a lot of generational intimacy with Psychonauts in particular, like there are also a lot of intrinsic things. And I mean, we touched on it, like human condition things, right? But
there's the heroic cycle. I mean, like it definitely follows that same cycle. I mean, any good story does that. And yeah, he definitely. I mean, I think any guy that can get to this point, or girl, or anybody that can get to this point, like Steve Jobs or him or Tim Schafer, they're in touch with things that, like you said, are timeless, and the choices that they're going to make are going to seem obvious when they make them, but they like not everybody would pick that. It took a lot of
time.
What's that?
Yeah. But it took a lot of time.
But it took a lot of time to get to that obvious choice, and like I think that like you get to these story beats and you're like it just makes perfect sense because you're like, oh, it couldn't have gone any other way.
Right.
Like, it made perfect sense.
So, yeah. I think people like that, they have a good sense of giving the audience what they know that the audience needs, not what the audience wants, but what the audience doesn't know that they need or want. They're good at anticipating what an audience is craving. The audience just doesn't. They're just too dumb to realize what they want. And that's not like I'm not like undermining, but they just
you
they're
make
blind
absolute
to it.
Perfect sense. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that I talk. Not to take attention away. I didn't mean to.
No,
go ahead.
Please do, man.
But I have conversations like that all the time with other designers, and with Steve Jobs in particular. Since you mentioned him, like there are a lot of people that at face value they see iOS, right, or they see OS X, and they say, yeah, iOS made so much sense. It was so obvious. Like it just works. I could have came up with it.
Yeah, but you didn't.
Actually, when you actually get into user experience, you realize that actually a lot was thought out, and iOS was like a mobile reboot. Like if you say something like that, you clearly have no idea what the cell phone industry looked like before the iPhone.
Right.
Well, that's the thing with that is like with good design is nobody knows what they want to do, and your job is to lead them on that path without making them feel like you're leading. You want them to feel like they figured it out. It's like a good video game design is, you do something because you think that you were supposed to do it, but really you would have done it no matter, like 95, 98, 99% of the time you would have done that one thing because it was, like you said, so well designed to funnel you down that path.
Right.
There was almost no other logical choice for you to take.
I always think about like how something like this gets made, like, or how like the iPhone gets made, or anything like really good, and it's like this like weird like Zen moment that I think goes on. Like it's like that perfect like you do something without thinking about it. Like if you play an instrument or whatever, like if you do it long enough, like you just reflexively do things, you know,
you can sing with it.
And exactly, and like I don't know, like was this game an instance of that happening? You know, I don't know. Like maybe that's why we're talking about it, or maybe that's why the iPhone is so popular, or maybe that's why Macs are great, and or whatever. You know
I think
what I mean?
This came close. I don't know if it's perfect though.
No, well, I mean, there's never a perfect. But,
no,
but like I don't know, like if you could like bottle that and like a drug, I would take that shit every day. Who wouldn't?
For as much like hand holding as like most games do, like there's a little bit of that in this.
Yeah.
But for me, it doesn't feel.
Well, here's the beautiful thing, though. You're saying that there wasn't much hand holding, but the first 3 levels are all tutorial levels,
right? But but like, and those things pop up, and like they come up after a while. Like I was fighting this like nightmare beast that like scooped me up at some point, and I was like, I don't understand how to kill it, because every time I would kill it would,
in the Milkman one,
yeah,
when you're underground,
it would like it kept respawning, and I was like, I don't understand what to do, and then the old guy comes in, and he's just like, you got to do this actually, and I was like, okay, thank you for giving me 2 attempts to figure it out on my own,
right?
And then he told me about it.
I didn't like that boss because it felt tacked on to that point, because it just comes out of the ground and grabs you,
right?
And it's just like, oh, here's a boss now,
right? There should be an action beat here. Here's this.
Yeah, there should be some like some sort of story thing that makes sense.
Right.
And also, I didn't like the fact that they gave you that, and because the boss didn't make enough sense. Although, like, what you should have thought of was, oh, I just got this telekinesis ability a little while ago.
I should use that.
And I think that's what they're trying to teach you there, is to go, hey, remember you got this. You're not just going to use the last ability you got. You're going to use the last few abilities that you got.
Right.
And eventually, you're going to have to use a whole bunch of abilities that you got.
Sure.
And I think that's what they're trying to teach you there.
Totally not how real life works.
What's that?
You just always use the last thing you got.
But then to counter that, like when you fight the troop mom or the scout mom or wherever she is, and nothing. She doesn't set you up to be like, oh, you got to use the clairvoyance thing to like figure out where you are. The only thing you have is thinking back to those cameras in those houses, and
to get inside the secret code and stuff like that, do that stuff.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. That's the only like clue to it. There's not like a thing to it, you know. So there's a little bit to it, and he has like fun.
He does a lot of it. I think the game does a really good job for the most part. I just think I like that you brought that point up, because that was one of the moments where I was like, this feels a little sloppy, and like the searching for the arrowheads felt a little like not sloppy. It felt like those were where it's not perfect. Yeah, it's like those were the moments where they were like, we got to make this like an extra half an hour longer.
Right.
It's a time suck. It's and you got to get the epic weapons, and
For me, I think it's about like my needs. I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
No, I was done.
For me, it's about like, and when something anticipates my needs,
it's always about your needs, Nick.
No, but seriously, like when something anticipates my needs, I'm like, oh wow,
thank you, really
smart, way to go. Like, dude, I've been editing with Final Cut for like 10 years at this point, and there's just like there are things that I learn like every week, every other week, some little thing that I just like fuck around with something, and I'm just like, oh. That's cool. I've been doing it this way forever, and now there's this other way to do it. Thanks. I'm like I've never had to do this one thing before, but now I know that it can do that, and I never knew for 10 years that it could do that.
Yeah.
And this game was like that. It's like, I tried to do that thing, and I'm like, man, I wish someone would just fucking tell me how to beat this fucking boss. Right. And then the guy comes up and he's like, hey, you want to beat this boss? You got to throw the balls into the thing.
Right.
And like for me, that's like. Thanks, game. That's what I was thinking.
It's more satisfying than going on like the internet and being like, ugh. Like that feels like
that feels defeating.
Like you're like, I don't. Like
That's
that.
true. Looking in the strategy guide, back then would have you feel like you're kind of like, okay, I'm stupid.
Unless you're a crazy person and you play through like KOTOR again and you get everything like I would get to that point.
Are you talking from personal experience?
Yeah, I would go back and I had to get like perfect like light side. Like I couldn't get any dark side. I had to get all the light side points, even though at some point it doesn't matter anymore.
That's the thing with these games, with these collectible things. And here's why I hate collectibles: because I gotta fucking collect them all because I have to. Because me, Paul Ritchie, fucking hates not collecting everything. Not because I like care about being a completionist, but because I'm just like, oh man, it's right there.
Well, it's like
keep picking up those floating cards.
Yeah,
dude. I don't even know.
I would go out of my way though. I was like, oh, I better go behind this house.
You find one up on top of something, and you're like, I gotta get it. How do I get up there?
And you're like, now I gotta go back and check every other thing that looked like this because I bet you they're on all of those.
Yep.
Oh, dude.
It's just a peek into your own crazy mind.
Yep.
And you don't like it.
And the worst part is at the end of the day, you don't have anything to show for it.
Right.
No.
It's not like you have them on a wall and you're like...
It's fucking zeros and ones.
It's a digital thing that no one can see unless
you
sit down and show them.
At least that's what
every WoW addict.
Yep, exactly. That's what video games do now, though, right? Is they give me a little badge. Because they figured it out.
Well, they tell you, right?
Yeah, only your online friends can see them. That's it.
They don't send you a trophy.
It's not like you have a physical trophy. It's still like
Dude,
you know I forsake physical things, so
dude,
the digital trophy is more important
I'm
to
a
me.
hoarder, man. Give me all of it.
Forsake personal things.
Physical things. I like personal things.
You shall have no false collectibles before me.
I remember if you beat Mario back in the day, if you beat Mario and you recorded it, if you sent the VHS in to Nintendo, they would send you a certificate.
Yeah, dude.
That was a ish.
Oh man,
It's a real thing.
you know, like I just said, I don't like physical things, but I would have taken one of those.
We should
Nintendo
do that.
certificates.
There's stuff like that. Like I remember like a year or two ago, Gerard had just like started doing like the completionists and stuff.
Yeah.
And Edward McMillan, who did Super Meat Boy, contacted him and was like, "I dare you to try 100% Super Meat Boy." And Gerard did, and I think he sent him something.
Did it in a week too, man.
Yeah, dude, he did it. He did it,
Crazy.
which is insane. And like that's cool that like there's still developers out there who are like, "Hey, man, I'm gonna put your high score up on the Nintendo Power website." That's cool.
Yeah.
We should all beat Mario and make a VHS tape and send it in. And see what they
No,
do.
happens.
See what they do.
We joke about games like that all the time. That like that's a resume putter. Like that you could put
Yeah.
that you beat Battletoads
Right.
on your resume, and people will give you a job because they know
Right.
how hard it is.
Right.
That's like a thing.
Another 10 or 20 years, yeah, that's going to be a thing.
Yeah, I would hire
yeah.
somebody right
Yeah,
now.
Continue HQ. I'd be
Yeah.
like, get in here.
Yeah,
You're hired.
You send me a resume right now that has I beat Battletoads
Yeah.
with
And it's
proof.
on a VHS.
Wait-
You're hired. You're hired.
If you figured out a way to get a working VHS together and find a tape and do that, all right.
I have one.
I know everyone's got them. I'm acting like it's like fucking the Wasteland or something.
Like it's a Victrola. like it's like a find at an antique shop. It's a harpsichord. It's amazing it even exists still.
Found an 1880s penny farthing and got it working.
Fucking ridiculous. It's the freaking Baghdad battery. It's like an artifact.
You know that any VHS tape you find is going to have the little thing the tab broken off of it. You got to go get tape and put it on there. That's a lot of work,
you
man.
jam them
The
like cardboard
rewinders,
in there.
They never stayed unbroken.
No.
Dude, rewinders at the top it would never close anymore. You had to put a
you
brick
always
on
have to
top of
push
it.
it down, so it went.
Because that thing had like the spring tension of like I don't know, the power of the damn space shuttle.
Yeah, because Challenger happened and they were like, okay, we're not going to be using that shit anymore. Just put it in all the video rewinders. We're not going to need it anymore.
Yeah, 86, man, 86.
Oh, man, 86. Bad year for space, good year for VHSs.
That's where 86 comes
that was
from.
the best part of renting DVDs, though. Just like you're done with the movie. I remember still having that like twitch, like, oh, I finished watching the movie, I gotta rewind it.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
yeah. The Be-Kind Rewind sticker on every single video.
Well, you'd get charged for it.
Yeah,
they
you
would
would.
charge you for it.
$1, yeah.
I went to a good place that didn't do that.
Yeah, I don't think.
That was like a selling point at some point.
Yeah.
They were like, no late fees, no rewind fees.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, I ain't rewinded shit. And they had like that wall of rewinders there that they'd stick it in.
Yep.
Yeah. Dude, that was like a
Race
selling
car.
point for Blockbuster at the end.
Yeah.
That was like an advertising thing. They'd be
No
like,
late fees?
No late fees at Blockbuster anymore.
So I get to keep this movie forever. All right.
And yeah, it's like, well, Netflix,
Because Netflix does
is here,
that.
dude.
Yeah,
Like,
because that's why.
You're done. You're done.
Yep. But anything else that you guys want to comment on the gameplay?
Jumping on things sucks.
All right.
It's still got that like that platform era camera that's still like still not intuitive as it is
wonky.
now.
It gets
you know?
there's some bad points with it. Some of the bosses were really frustrating because of the camera.
Yeah, I had a lot of issues with that water bubble thing.
Yeah.
I'd be like, where am I going right
I
now?
I liked that part.
Right.
I didn't like when you had to look through. Anytime you had to look through another person's point of view, like the den mother.
Right.
That drove me nuts because there's like ledges that you can fall off and you die instantly from it, and you're like, and she'll like swap positions on you while you're running at her, and you won't even like, because it's so weird because it's such a disorienting thing because there's movement, like the whole axis is moving, depending on like something that you're not controlling, and like it throws you off so completely that I like fell off the sides like multiple times during that. And that's supposed to be that way.
Yeah, I would like hit her and then I would just freeze.
Yeah, you had to stop
and wait for her to land, and then
but she would always throw a cookie box right next to you, and you have to like move the littlest bit so that you wouldn't get hit by it. No, but there were points fighting certain bosses, like the very first boss in Sasha Nine's brain. I was like, I just couldn't get that. Like for me, I was playing on a keyboard and mouse because my controller wasn't working.
It's a lot less intuitive.
It's too bad. It's not. It doesn't work.
It took me a while to figure out how to flip around on the flagpoles.
Yeah.
Because there's so many keyboard buttons.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, but then I was like, oh, F is the use button.
Yeah.
And it took me, and I was getting like rage sweats.
I died. It had been so long since I'd used a flipping around on a pole that when I was in the underwater part, I got to the point where I was on a pole and I was like, how do I do this? No, I forget. And I was like hitting all my buttons and I didn't find it and I died.
Yep. There it is.
It was the worst. And then it moved me forward when I died to the next point.
So it was good.
I got past it. So it was the best. Then.
Just like in real life.
Yeah.
Thanks, Psychonauts.
What about you, Satchel? Anything else that you wanted to talk about gameplay-wise?
Gameplay-wise, I had a small expectation. And it's a little bit, it's kind of a cheat. It's a little bit of gameplay. It kind of gets back into narrative a little bit. But the connection between Raz and Dogen, I was expecting more decision-making mechanics in the game, because it kind of started off with an interesting decision-making mechanic. Like when you're in what's his name, Oleander's mind, and you cross that minefield, you kind of have this option of assisting Dogen across. You can or you can't,
right?
And after that, they don't really go anywhere with it. But I almost wonder if it was there for the sake of immersion, because going off of what Josh was saying about like mirrors and mirrors, like everyone's a bit of a beautiful mess in the game. Like I guess it's part of like the whole like underdog charm. And it was interesting. I guess what was interesting was that after Dogen's brain got taken out of his head, as you continue playing, like everyone keeps mentioning, oh yeah, did you hear about Dogen? It's like, yeah, that's just the way he is. That's just the way he is. And Raz is like the only person who feels like, no, that Dogen, there's something abnormal about the way that Dogen is. Like, seems like someone's taken his brain. It doesn't seem like he's like really weird or whatever. And I thought they would revisit that with like other people and kind of allow decision making to change things. But
right, yeah, they didn't do that much. And I know that, and I didn't do this because I kept going on the main story. But I know that you can go into other people's brains, like the other kids' brains, at some point. I think once you rescue them, once you get them out of that like testing chamber.
Okay.
Because there's that circle of doors.
Yeah.
Each one of those goes into a different person's brain.
Oh, that's cool.
So I think you can go into each of their brains at that point. Now, I don't know if maybe more of that stuff comes along at that point, like, you know, because you have the decision of maybe helping them out,
right?
Like clearing out their brain of all their cobwebs and all their stuff,
right? That's interesting.
And doing all this stuff. But I don't know if I don't know. I didn't get into any of that stuff, so I can't speak to it. But
yeah, me neither.
Yeah. You know what? One little thing you brought up, Oleander. I was trying to look at the naming conventions because I was like, I wonder if he's got anything, because everybody has weird names except for Bobby. Everybody else is. I mean, Dogen is like a.
Bobby's kind of a weird name.
Bobby.
Everyone named Bobby's kind of weird. Nobody here is named Bobby, are they?
I think that I did notice though that Mila is a flower and Oleander is a flower. They're poisonous flowers.
Yes.
And I was trying to think of like what Sasha. I couldn't think of what
Sasha Grey.
I thought it was just like it was just like Sasha 9, like German.
It's
like Agent 9. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like around his little office area, the fences have like warning signs that just say 9 on it.
Yeah,
it's kind of funny.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah, but that was cool. I love that they use the sensory deprivation chamber too.
Yeah.
I just love the idea of that.
We need to get one.
You can go. There's one up in like somewhere in like Allentown area.
I'm not going up there.
You wouldn't do that?
I would do it, but I don't want to. I don't know. I'm afraid of what's in my mind.
Well, let's go find out.
Oh God, we're gonna have a real life Psychonauts on
like
our hand.
$50 for 2 hours.
That's expensive for sitting in nothingness. Yeah. That's stupid.
You're paying for you.
Yeah, exactly. You're paying for like reality.
You should be free.
Yeah, I mean, gameplay-wise, it seems like I think that you see most of it in 2 hours thing is pretty true. You get different powers, but I don't think any of them greatly affects the gameplay in any way. Like it changes what you can do in the platforming, but it doesn't really like alter things that drastically. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we should probably start wrapping this thing up. I guess we should take a vote.
We're gonna take a vote now.
If we want to continue or game over.
Okay.
Satchel, I don't know if you know how this works. We changed the rules a little bit, but at the end we make the vote of if we would want to continue or game over, and the majority takes it to the next episode. So if
we're still doing that. So if we continue, we will keep playing this game.
Yeah, we can keep going forever.
Okay,
if we really like a game. until we die.
Like Outcast says.
So let's let our guest go first. Satchel, go ahead. What would you do?
Sure, I would continue.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And why would you continue this game?
Solely for the story. Yeah. I'd like to see how, though I have a gist of things, I would definitely like to see how it unfolds. I'm not entirely sure if I've really hit the climax yet. And I just like wherever Tim Schafer's mind is at with this, I really like it. If you wrote a book, I'd probably check it out.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm in the same boat. I think on the last one I was one of the game over dudes. This game really like turned me around. I really like kind of turned it into like I was kind of on the fence and just kind of it'd be interesting to see where it would go, but not worth the time putting in. And now I'm like, all right, the time putting in is what I'm getting from the game is becoming worth my time invested. Mm-hmm. So I'd say continue.
You can continue. What about you, Josh?
I'm gonna still game over. I think.
Yeah.
Not that I don't want to see the story. I would play it again and I would finish it. I just don't want to like right now. like in this moment, I would.
It found you at a very weird point in your life.
It did. It did. From a very weird point in my life. A hole in my cheek.
Giant dick.
I don't know. I mean, it's good. It's a great game, and I don't have anything against it. Good story. I don't know. I'm ready to move on. Sometimes you gotta move on. Sometimes you have a really hot girlfriend and you just dump her just because. That's stupid.
Just want to see what happens.
Yeah, just to spice things up a little bit. That's terrible. I'm single.
Well, just the fact that she's hot doesn't mean she's worth keeping.
Right. Well, it helps.
I'm going to say I would continue because I'm really enjoying this game. I really like it.
Fuck you guys!
Table flip.
But there's a little caveat here.
Yeah.
So, and Satchel, this doesn't really necessarily include you to a certain extent, but we have a very big project coming up, Smart Guys.
Right.
And so we're actually changing the format of the podcast for a short period while we film. We're going to switch to more of a... I guess like a discussion topic / news / email in questions type thing for a couple of maybe like 2 or 3 episodes, probably maybe 4 episodes, just to get us through the shooting because we're just going to be too busy to play games all the time, to have the extra time to sit around and play games for the time that is required to like really have an in-depth discussion about them.
Well, like for this game it's like 10 hours.
It's like 10, 15 hours or so. That doesn't mean I think we're going to stop playing this game. I think since we said we would continue, it'd be nice to continue playing this game and maybe touch on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want to do one more podcast on this?
Yeah, we'll do another one, and it'll be the first in the series of. This is a little bit more of a looser structure where we're not so much talking about just this game. We're talking about a lot of other things.
Yeah,
but I think we'll set aside maybe 15 minutes to talk about the game. If there's more discussion to be had, we'll talk about it. If not, we'll just gloss over, okay, I did this in the game, I got past this part, I like it, I don't like it, whatever. We'll sort of give it like a quick treatment, and we'll see, we'll see how that goes, and we'll choose if we want to keep going week to week still.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But it doesn't have to necessarily, the whole episode won't be around that.
Listeners, don't freak out. Change might be scary at first. I know some of you guys might be young. You just have to understand that things are going to change. Change is a natural part of life. And in order for people to grow and for things to evolve, things have to change. I know everybody wants same but different, but we're going to adjust this for a little bit, and we'll be back to regularly scheduled ContinueCast momentarily.
If anything, it's just going to be like a long tangent cast.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, it's still going to be the same old wacky hijinks.
So, yeah. Man, Satchel, thank you for joining us on this podcast. We're going to definitely have you back as soon as possible.
Sounds awesome. Thanks so much for having me again.
It was awesome. It's always great to talk to you.
Yeah.
I wish you were here in person. That would be the only better thing.
Yeah.
The next time you got to get down here.
Most definitely.
You know, it'd be even better if Satch was here.
Yeah.
And Luke was here.
Oh my God.
And we had Satchel on the podcast, and Luke had to sit in the corner. not on the podcast.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I like that better.
I think Luke would kind of enjoy that, actually.
Silently judging us in the corner.
Shaking his head and sighing.
Just the Luke.
That'd be great.
Yeah, so apologies, Satchel, that we all decided we would continue this game, and then we're going to be like, but...
Make our own rules, whatever.
It is our own rules. Hey, who's to say that in 2 weeks we can't have Satchel call in for a quick touch base?
I think that's a great
about
idea.
This.
It's a great idea.
If he wanted to, he might be like, "This show's the worst shit I've ever been on in my life."
No, that'd be cool.
Would you do it if we gave you a ring? Would you do it?
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe we could do that at the beginning of
That'd
the
be
episode
awesome.
and do like a little quick touch in on it.
2 caveats to that. Satchel is going to PAX this weekend. Satchel, you have to tell everyone out there that we love them.
Yes.
And that we're not going to be able to make it. And please hug everyone for us. Mm-hmm. And the other one...
We've just made you our ambassador.
Yeah. Dude, I like
and,
that.
And a host for PAX Pod.
I like that.
And the Z's host. Yes.
Oh my god!
I don't remember what the second caveat was.
Shit, I screwed you up.
Stay handsome.
It's all right. Be awesome.
Yes.
Be awesome.
Be excellent to each other. That's it.
Can you handle those 2 things?
Yeah. Thanks.
I have faith in you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was you know.
Bill, real quick, are you excited to go to PAX, man? Or
I am
PAX
so
Prime?
excited. I board my flight at 5 a.m., so I will be chilling.
Oh my god, that's in like 2 hours.
I'm glad we could hold you up.
It's not in 2 hours.
Real quick, what are you excited for out there?
I'm excited for meeting new people. Most definitely meeting new people and having some interesting conversations. I'll be able to meet some content creators that I've only been able to kind of talk to online.
Yeah.
I very much prefer meeting people in person and kind of chilling out and having a good time. So that'll be cool. The booths, yeah, a little bit. I don't really... I used to be like all about like, oh man, this is going to be a great place for merch, but like buying t-shirts and stuff. Now I'm kind of at a place where it's like, all right, I get it. I like video games. Like,
Exactly.
But definitely like walking around in the atmosphere, and Seattle, like I grew up on like Smashing Pumpkins, Nirvana, and like Silverchair.
I know you wear that Nirvana shirt a lot.
It's like Seattle was always that place, like just I don't know, just always like this special place where everyone's automatically cool. So I'm very excited to go out there and see what.
Are you going to go to the gum wall?
The Who? Is that a landmark of some kind?
Yeah, there's a wall where everyone puts their gum on it, and it's like this massive, disgusting wall full of gum.
Really?
That's going to be a thing.
You should do, and Pike's Place. That's where the Starbucks is. That's the first Starbucks or whatever.
Oh, really?
Okay, cool.
I'm just thinking of all the cool. Oh, what else? The Space Needle.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, also all the free legal weed.
Oh, damn!
What?
I'm going to PAX this weekend, boys.
Oh, I remember the second one. Survive PAX.
Yes, please do that. That's the most important one, Satchel. That's cool, man. Any games you want to play while you're there?
Yes. That Dragon Cancer. I'm so stoked for that. Did you hear about it?
Yeah, you want to get sad there?
Well, I know that's sort of a part of it, but it is
oh my Seattle.
Gosh. I'm really excited for a compelling game that's gonna like reach out to me on a personal level.
I've heard that game is hard to play through. Do you guys know what that game is?
No, tell me about it. You know what? Save it for next time.
That's a good. Yeah, we should talk about it after you play it.
Yes. Satchel, call in and tell us how it is.
Yeah.
Now I gotta avoid knowing anything about this.
I love feeling sad, though.
Hasn't stopped you before. Boom. Podcast over.
Nuked.
Before we wrap this thing up, I want to read off a couple 5-star reviews from our iTunes store. Guys, if you leave us 5-star reviews, it really helps us out, and we'll say your name and you'll get kind of famous for a second. So, first one is from Bobby Joe Donald, 10 out of 5 stars. That's crazy possible.
Isn't he the singer for Green Day?
He likes us that much, man. I think he wrote a song about us.
Oh, man.
Go ahead, sing it.
What song?
Say just any Green Day song.
Any Green Day song?
Yeah.
Don't want to live.
You have that time.
Why did you need me to
To
sing?
listen to the ContinueCast now.
That's pretty good.
That was very good.
Yeah, I listened to a lot of Green Day as a kid.
I did too.
Yeah, right?
God, I'm sorry I just ruined your eardrums, Satchel.
No, that was lovely.
I am 8-bit wrote. Love it. 5 stars.
Oh, that's nice.
Josh Hendersnatch. That's your nickname.
Whoa.
Interesting.
How did you know that was your nickname?
Somebody cosplaying as Josh.
That would be terrible.
This is I can get into this into this metaphor that he's created here. Voices that pass through you like a nice jump. Wow.
Oh, wow.
That's revealing.
That's a good compliment.
Posy Tiffany. I love Posy Tiffany, man. She's positive as hell. Love it. She loves this podcast so much. This is literally the most posy comment we've gotten.
Most posy.
Most posy.
Danny Saya. He wrote, "Continue Phrenia. A cornucopia of voice that sounds good in my ear."
Oh, that's a nice thing to say.
NB1234986. Wow. I would kill for this podcast. Wow.
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 I'm not going to say don't do that.
Yeah, as long as it's not any of us.
Yeah, do
Right.
it. Mike Kavanaugh wrote in and wrote longtime listener, first time reviewer. It's he's been with us since the Game Revision days.
Oh, whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah.
100 years ago.
Long time viewer, first time fister.
My bad.
It always hurts the first.
St. Cloud 19 wrote my favorite podcast, 5 stars. I love listening to you guys while playing games. Keep it
You're
good
my
work.
favorite
And I'm gonna
commenter.
I'm gonna leave off on this one. Actually, this is weird. We got one by Pigeon Hat, simply the best. Better than all the rest. 5 stars.
Dude, you said it's better than all the rest.
I know.
That's great.
Is that a Green Day song?
He didn't say that actually.
Oh, we should have.
But his name is Pigeon Hat, and the next one is Falcon Duster. So we got 2 bird inanimate object names.
Birds of prey.
Yeah, pigeon is not a bird of prey.
Dude, a pigeon will fuck you up, man.
No,
Dude.
they're scavenger birds,
No, dude, if you're eating food, man, like,
Birds of
you
prey.
become the prey. Alright?
He's right, dude.
Yeah, dude, you're eating food outside, fucking pigeon will tear your face off.
What about beach pigeons? They're birds of prey.
That beach pigeons.
Beach pigeons are
Especially
scary.
Midtown, they'll fly on the table.
Midtown,
yeah.
Midtown pigeons are a rare breed, right there.
They're like sky rats. They don't
Sky
care.
rats.
They don't give a shit.
Dude, man, if you're a bald guy and you go into the wig shop and then you walk right outside, dude, that pigeon will just snatch
Steal your
a new
wig.
wig right off the head. They don't care, dude. They're like, I'll look better in this than you will.
That's how Seinhardt got so big, dude.
Shineheart Wig Company.
They got that from they got those trained pigeons that were taking everybody's. Dude, they brought them right back to the wig company.
they resell
Double
them.
profit.
Cleaned them up. Double
profit.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Falcon Duster wrote, "My laughing annoys other people. For 2 hours every day, I feel like I have smart friends." Well, you must be listening to another
I'm sorry.
podcast.
What podcast? Yeah, right.
All right, now I'm going to leave it on that one. Guys, thank you for listening to another episode of the ContinueCast. Satchel, thank you again, sir.
Satchel, stay on the line. We need to get your information.
Thank you guys. You guys are great.
Thanks, man. And hey, where can people check out your stuff?
Yeah.
That would be youtube.com/satchbags. So Satchbags, that's with an S at the end.
Be sure to check out his channel. It is enlightening.
Yes.
It is entertaining.
You'll learn something. If you're not careful, you're going to learn something.
Also, what's your Twitter?
Yeah, give
Give
Twitter
him all your
round off.
contact info.
Satchbag says, just, yeah.
Excellent.
I love it.
I follow him, so you should freaking do it, everybody.
He great.
And we'll be sure to give everybody your information and stuff like that because I'm sure they're going to want it. Check out that YouTube channel, guys. If you like in-depth looks into games, you don't need to go anywhere else.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's got it all. It's great. So can't recommend it highly enough. Satchel, thanks again, and I can't wait to talk to you in a couple weeks when you're back from PAX.
Thank you guys.
All right.
Okay.
See you guys.
Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of TangentCast. My name's Nick.
I'm Paul.
I'm Josh.
I'm Satchel.
All right, and today's topic we have, I think this is a great topic because I love movies. So, all right, so for the uninitiated, so there's this like series of movies, DVD releases that come out. It's called the Criterion Collection. It's basically like this. I don't think it's sponsored by the AFI, but it's a society of film aficionados.
I thought it was Michael Criterion.
It is. He's like, you know what? I did Jurassic Park. And I really just want to save movies like Jurassic Park. No, but what they do is they're like film aficionados, and they have this committee where they decide films that are worthy enough and that are not just movies and not just films. They're pieces of art, and they need to be preserved and they need to be explored more. So they have this set that comes out, and then it's like an honor for your film to get like accepted into it, and there's like all kinds of behind the scenes features and all kinds of making of, and there's like just
Awesome cases.
Yeah. Oh my god, the design on them are always great.
Yeah.
So since it's the video game podcast, what is a game that you think would be worthy enough of a Criterion release, and what's like a hidden gem that you think should be in there.
Okay.
So 2 games.
We each get to pick 2 games.
So one is just like, well, I guess they're both kind of like a popular game, or like how did you frame it before?
One of the games might be Super Mario Brothers.
Okay.
And that's a game that everyone would agree deserves to be in there. A game that without question.
It's just like universally.
It's like a Best Picture winner. You know, it's
okay.
like okay, this is a universally, critically, commercially acclaimed game that deserves to be in there. The other one is a game that may or may not have. What are we pointing at?
Are you recording?
Yeah.
Okay. I just make sure.
Freaked out for a second.
I did too.
One of them, the other one might be something that maybe wasn't critically acclaimed, or maybe wasn't commercially successful.
But personally, you think this is like the end-all, be-all video game.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Who wants to go first? Satchel, you want to go first since you're our
sure. I'll
super
go first.
guest?
Hold on, real quick. Actually, I
don't want to go after Satchel. Mine are idiotic.
This TangentCast idea was sent in by Evan Guidry.
Oh, thank you.
Guidry.
Thank you, Evan.
Yeah, I'm going to say Evan. Thank you, Evan.
Thanks, Evan.
Evan G.
Evan G.
G-Man.
Right. Dive on in, Satchel.
Sure. I think my first game would be Marvel vs. Capcom, the first Marvel vs. Capcom, which seems to air more on the side. I guess in a way it airs more on the side of the recent than classic, but it has been 10 years.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That game was a very big deal for me. I hate to come out the gate with a trite when I was a kid story, but when I was a kid, my parents would enroll me in a boys and girls club over the summer, and they had arcade machines in the main area, and one of them was Marvel vs. Capcom. For me, that game was a bit of a culmination of everything that I enjoyed visually.
Right.
I loved drawing Street Fighter characters, and I loved comic books. All of my uncles kicked my butt in Street Fighter. They took it very seriously, and because of that, there was a bit of this like East meets West kind of investment in those characters. So to see them come together was great, especially the visuals for. I loved how the aesthetic was so. It's like that typical kawaii anime over dramatic.
Yeah.
Where Ryu's like throwing Hadoukens that are like the size of his body, and when you execute a special, the background goes into that like racing particle background and stuff. And everything was just overwhelming about that game, and I loved it. You know, and at that time it was before like Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and 3, where it felt like bordering on too much. Like playing 3 characters, constantly changing them is like seizure inducing. But before that, it was just like you pick one, and you have a partner, and I would. Kids brought $1 to change in for a quarter, like at the Boys and Girls Club. I brought in like $5 bills, and everyone behind me is like, "What the hell, man? Like, don't you care about the people around you?" And I was such a people pleaser at that time, but for that game, I was like, zero F's given on this. I'm changing this $5. Give me 20 quarters. I'm gonna play this all day.
That's fantastic. What was your team?
I'm sorry? My team was Ryu and Mega Man.
Nice.
Oh, that's good.
Loved Ryu. Like, always wanted to be like him. Just that his whole demeanor, he was such a humble guy. Like, he could clearly body like a room full of individuals, but he was that healthy mix of self-deprecating and kind of keeping himself just graceful with the people around him. maybe that was a little bit too deep, but I love that.
He's like
the Street Fighter anime and the animated movie. I wanted to be like him so badly. So that's what got me into Street Fighter. You know, alongside like playing and wanting to be the best. So that game definitely one of the more critically acclaimed games that I enjoyed. As far as hidden gems, I'd say that. I mean, for one, I'd say that it's hard just because of the dynamic of the game industry at that time. In order to really get a far-reaching game, and especially considering the costs of like development and things like that, everything kind of needed a relatively high budget. Not everything. I mean, PC games, obviously had a more liberal indie market, but I'd say Chrono Cross is probably my hidden gem.
Okay.
Now, I know the reason I put that preface is because I understand for some hidden is kind of like a loose term for it, really.
Yeah.
But whenever I do get into a conversation with someone about video games and I bring up, oh yeah, Chrono Cross, that's one of my favorite games. Usually I lose people. Usually a lot of people are very fanatical about Chrono Trigger.
Right. That's what I'm.
But as far as
big
Chrono
on that.
Yeah.
Paul has like 6 mint copies. I'm going to give you his address so you can come rob him. He doesn't have them.
No, but
Josh robbed them all from me.
Took them.
But yeah, Satchel, like Chrono Cross was interesting. It was you like when I picked it up. I was also
that was PS1, right?
Yeah, PS1.
Yes.
Yeah. But it was interesting because like I went in expecting Chrono Trigger and I got something different. Like you pretty much like play the game, and if I remember correctly, you play the game again, like through time again, and you get this thing that lets you like fast forward time to like blow through the stuff you've done already. Am I remembering incorrectly?
Right. There was a particular area, Opasa Beach, where you'd go out to the beach, and there was like this gap in time, like this rift in time, where you would get sucked into it and either go into the future or the past.
Okay.
Just like the real beach, when you fall asleep and you get wake up with sunburn.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, is that a game you're planning on doing in like an in-depth study of at some point?
Yes, I do. I'm looking forward to it. I'm holding off on it. I definitely like to get better. I'm still like a greenhorn at a lot of things. So definitely in the future, when I feel a lot more competent, I'd like to do it justice and cover it.
You should do a Marvel vs. Capcom one too.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Like, I think it'd be an interesting like Criterion release because it'd be interesting to like see interviews with like the creators and like what they were thinking and like because there's like the history is so rich that there's so much to pull from and like the special features for the game would be like interesting. Like coming from like Children of the Atom to like Marvel superheroes to this is like that's like a generation of like these games that are like spanning so much time and like so many generations of like iterations of this game.
And it'd be interesting to hear how two different art teams came together like that, and we're like, well, we got to find a middle ground that is respectful to both of our styles,
For
and,
sure.
It would definitely be interesting. It's definitely an interesting collaboration. It's a collaboration game too, which is cool. Which isn't that's not like a frequent thing that happens,
Yeah.
You don't get a lot of mashups.
Nowadays a lot more frequently, but back then it was a very big deal.
Back to that, I loved how that game brought like the sky into it, like the aerial attacks. And stuff like that.
Oh man, that was great.
That was like my favorite part of that. I remember watching it and they were jumping in the air, and I was like, "What is
that super jump? It's just out of control, man."
They would just fly up, and I was like, "It was like there's like two different battlegrounds,
Right.
Something about that anticipation.
What's that?
Something about that anticipation while you were up in the air.
Yeah,
It's very cool.
A little bit of loss of control up there, like just a little bit. You weren't as nimble as you were on the ground,
And it was cool. Like for me, like I loved X-Men as a kid, and like Children of the Atom was like amazing because it brought that like I was like, oh my god, Street Fighter with my favorite characters. Like I enjoyed Street Fighter, but not as much as I enjoyed X-Men. So it was like, wow, this is great, and it was like this like anime-ification of those characters. Like Cyclops could jump in the air and just like hover and float and just like blast, like do an optic blast in the air, and like it was just
I couldn't
cool.
do that in X-Men.
Dude, couldn't do an X-Men, man. But then this is like, then it's like well, then it started like the conversation. It's like, well, who would win, man?
That's the thing.
Who would win in a fight?
It was that age-old question: who would win in a fight? And like
going back to like the Alien versus Predator. That maybe for me was one of the first things where you're like, whoa. What if, what if RoboCop fought a Terminator? What if, it's like a cool game to play.
And you finally got to be able to like kind of take that in, kind of like see what would happen.
Flush it out and see what happened. Yeah,
exactly.
And it was great seeing like Marvel characters with over the top specials. Because like you'd never see that in like, I don't know, for Sega Genesis, like Separation Anxiety, like Spider-Man and Carnage. Like you'd see all these heroes together, but they would never do like the crazy stuff that you would see in like Japanese games.
Yep. So with Chrono Cross, is that a pretty traditional RPG, or is it like? Or is there anything different about it?
I'd say there are a lot of things that kind of sidestep tradition. For example, no random battles. Instead, as you're walking around in the maps and overworlds, there are representations of battles in the forms of like one or two monsters, and it's kind of your choice as to whether you want to engage or not. Sometimes the game will put you in like a puzzle situation where you have to fight them, or you can choose who you want to fight. But for the most part, that's there, and I very much enjoyed that. Some other things. The battle system was very different. They used instead what they did was they kind of allotted you. They allotted you of like attacks weren't infinite. You formed your own combos based on like weak, medium, and strong.
Okay.
And the way that you would gauge it is every battle you sort of had like an AP, right? So you had like ability points, and you can distribute that amongst the attacks that you would do, and then also the elements that you would cast, which was sort of like the magic. So it made it very interesting, where you weren't
spamming
necessarily,
a single spell.
you weren't spamming or necessarily running out of MP. Every battle felt like it felt important, and like every attack, it didn't feel like where you were just kind of like tapping in, like, all right, I've got a strategy down, I need to use this. You would get a strategy, but there was a little bit more involvement.
Interesting. Huh. That's cool. Sounds like a fun one.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Both of your games have like this teamwork element.
Yeah, the one thing though that I loved most about it was that if I could babble on a little more,
no, go ahead.
the one thing I loved the most about it was the narrative. I mean, that whole idea of time. And I mean, Nick, you kind of touched upon it a little bit. Like, there would be, what made the RPG unorthodox was that that whole idea of going back and forth in time was really important. When you go in the future, like, you were dead. You know what I mean? And and there were a whole bunch of things that took place in between the gap of years that you were alive. So you would get these quests where the quests would span across like a number of different objectives, but you had to do a lot of brain work before you really dove into the objectives, because it would require an item or something that you may have to jump back and forth in time to like procure and then process.
Right.
And,
cool. Oh man, that's cool.
And then the way that it tied into the story was very personal. I suggest anyone with 40 hours on their hands
take a vacation, take a work week off,
play it, because there's something about like with the story. There's regret, and there's going back and changing things, and there's something about regret that's, especially in a story, that's so personal and universal at the same time. Like, it's one of the reasons why I enjoyed watching The Bridge, like Nick, your film, because like there's something about going back in time adds value to the second time you go through it, and then the story makes even more sense. Like, of course, the story makes sense the first time you go through it, but then when you watch it again, like, you can connect things, and again, that it plays into this very like humanistic thing, because time is valuable, and as a culture, we always like to get away from the idea that time is ticking and that time isn't valuable, and that's why all the pop songs are always like, you know, we're gonna dance till we die, the party's gonna keep going forever, we're gonna be young forever,
love is forever.
It's weird.
Super interesting, man. Like, going off that, like, I mean, you know now, like, anybody who knows me knows that I like love time travel stuff. It's just, to me, that's just like so interesting. And like, my like smaller choice is I think for me an obvious one. Like, I like blabble on about this game all the time, but like the first time I played Braid was just like, I was like, this game is made for me. This game is made just for me, nobody else. Like, this Jonathan Blow was like, here you go, Nick, have fun.
Remember you played it at Gamervision, and that was like the only game I ever saw you stay after work to play.
I was like, what's this Braid game about? And Sean was like, he's like, oh, you'll like it. It's about time travel. I was like, okay, see you tomorrow morning.
Yep, I'm sleeping over tonight.
Yeah, exactly. So like, my like Criterion pick would be like that, like, because
is that your mainstream one? Or
I think that's my like my indie like personal one, just because like I feel like it's so, the game says a lot without saying enough. You know what I mean? Like it just leaves me wanting more. So like, and I know there's interviews with Jonathan Blow, and there's like there's people who are dissecting it and stuff, but like, I would love that to be like in one place, and like have that like be able to reference that anytime I need like inspiration or something. So like, whenever there's like those Criterion collections, I always put them on like to listen to director commentary, to hear any of these things, and I would love to hear like the creators talk about aspects of that game, and not so much for me to understand it, but for me to understand the creative process that goes into it. So that would be my like my small pick. But like, I guess my more mainstream pick would be Portal, and Portal's release is already kind of like a Criterion.
Yeah.
Like playing through Portal again, it gives you, I think Portal and Portal 2 both have.
They have director commentary.
Yeah, they have the commentary on there. Yep. Like, that was the first thing. That was the first game I'd ever seen that had like a behind the scenes that was like, hey, here's our creative thought process in making X or Y, and why we designed this character this way. Like, everything else I had seen about video games had always been like a puff piece about like working with people is really tough.
Yeah, it's like a selling point.
Yeah,
like
exactly. This was like a glimpse into the creative process, and like and it was problem solving at its best. So for me, like, that already exists, if they could make like
more of it,
a double, a double super special edition would be great. I would buy the hell out of it.
Well, the nice thing about that team and that project is it was an indie style team, a very small team, who got lucky and got the budget of a mammoth publisher.
Yeah.
So that's why you get stuff like that, like a commentary and stuff like that. You know,
it sucks, man. There should be more of that. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think more indie people probably would end up doing that if they had the resources to develop those things. You know?
Yeah. I know we always make like the movie video game comparison all the time, but like when when all of us were getting into movies and stuff, like DVDs were just coming around, and like the commentary and the behind the scenes was like becoming a standard and becoming something that we all like,
I would rent tapes and
fast forward to the end.
A lot of times like that you got a tape and it's the movie.
It had to be a very
you got a couple you got 3 trailers in the beginning.
That was it.
But
you got to make your own
HBO
Criterion collection.
What's that, Satchel?
You have to wait for the HBO behind the scenes.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I was going to say. Some of the VHSs had that at the end. And I was like, oh, that's great. But like, it'd be nice if more people thought that way. And I think we're kind of at a point where more people want that. And more people like 5 years ago, video game design was not something you can major in. You know, it's not like you go to like, I'm going to go to college and be a video game maker. You know, but that's like a thing now. And I think that we're in like, 10, 15 years ago, you'd be like, I went to film school. You'd be like, all right, that's cool. But now it's accessible and more people want to do that. So I think we're getting to a point where that's a regular thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hope it's like an appreciative thing and not like a fad thing. Because I went back to, I revisited my my alma mater, and I happened to be there during like freshman orientation, and like now like graphic design is like, it's cool, like everyone in Williamsburg does it, right? So it's kind of so like everyone there, like sometimes I'm put off a little bit because I'm like enthusiastic because my class like doubled, more people making really cool things.
Yeah, but there's always that like, not like jealousy, but there's that like, you don't know. That's how I feel when we go back to film
I know what
school.
you're saying. We're like everyone there. I would like talk with some of the students there, and it didn't seem like they were too interested in making new things. But they all sort of looked like, I am who I am. Like it seemed very like like more of like a character than
right.
It was, I am a designer. I sit on the computer and make things pretty. This is my design tool.
Fuck you, Comic Sans.
Sorry, I just went into the milkman's head there for a second.
You did.
I love it. That's great.
I'll go next.
You go next.
I'll go next. So I think my smaller title is a game called Jagged Alliance 2. Did you guys know about that?
I think you talked about this game when we were at Gamervision.
It's a game I've talked. I did a Play This Now on it.
Oh, that's right. That's where I know it from. Okay.
Yeah, and it's awesome. So like it's a I guess like a Windows 98 era PC turn-based strategy game.
And you clicked on these blocks, and the block would either be a mine or tell you how many mines were around it.
No, actually, you were a mouse, and there was a block of cheese, and you were trying to click around and block the cheese from the mouse.
I like that.
And smash them in.
You'd have to move the mouse along the path, and if you went outside the path, a scary face came up on the screen.
Don't talk about that, dude. Too scary. That's too scary. I had
that's
bad moments with that.
I'm sorry. That's your mainstream game. I spoiled it.
You spoiled it. You ruined it. No, but Jagged Alliance 2 it's a turn-based strategy game, and you're a mercenary. Well, you're actually a guy who hires mercenaries, and you hire a team of mercenaries to go into this country called Aruko.
Is that a real country?
No, it's a fake country.
Okay.
And it's being run by this dictator, and you have to take a team of mercenaries in and incite a revolution.
What time frame does this take place in?
It was like a Windows 98 game, so the period. It's like really heavily based around like the mid 90s action movies like Commando. And
is it like a Bosnia situation?
Yeah, it's like a Chechenian country. Yeah.
For some reason, in my head, Jagged Alliance just brought up like samurais. For some reason.
No. It's like Chechnya. It's like a Eastern Bloc. Like
it's before. It's pre 9/11, so this is before all the Mid East.
But it has a little bit of a flair of like maybe a Middle Eastern but it's there's places butt up against each other, so there's a lot of overlap.
Back when like the Eastern Bloc could be the bad guys.
Like
still.
we were still getting over like the possibility of the nuclear war.
Cold War stuff.
Right.
But we're like we made all these proxy wars. We're just gonna let them just
fizzle out.
Still fizzle. So this didn't fizzle, and this person takes
and the
over.
alliances became jagged.
Yes, it was quite jagged.
Twice.
So you have to run this team of mercenaries in, and it's cool because like you're going in like under the cover of night, and you're a very small team, and you have very low amount of funds. And what you do is you take over these cities in the country, and through these like turn-based battles, and you can shoot for certain cities. And if you start taking the gold mines, you get more money. But if you start taking them, you start raising alarms because like suddenly the gold amount.
Gotcha.
The amount of gold they're mining.
You can't be a drug dealer and have too big of an area.
Yeah, exactly. Once you start making an impact, so you got to like slowly spread yourself out, establish a foothold with these mercenaries, and then you train up your own like little militia and stuff like that.
You have muskets.
And you have all types of guns and stuff, but it's cool because it's like a little gun porny, and like there's a lot of different types. You can buy all these guns and stuff, and like. It's really cool, but it's like super in depth, super tactical,
right?
And it's just one of the best like turn-based strategy games like I've ever played.
That's cool.
It's a very Eastern or rather Western turn-based strategy game.
Right.
It's not like a Final Fantasy Tactics or like Disgaea or anything like that. It's very like Fallout Tactics,
that's cool,
like AP and stuff like that. And it's really cool. And it's a game that not a lot of people have played, but I've always liked it. And it's cool because it's got like the option, if you want to, you can turn on like sci-fi mode, and there's like giant like rad scorpions.
I remember
and stuff.
shit like that.
Yeah, like it's cool. Like you can turn that on if you want to, and it just adds this little like extra flair of like weirdness to it.
That's awesome.
It's super cool. But like you can totally turn that off, and it can just be like a normal like you just fight this dictator and her like
it's like
army.
SimCity with guns.
Yeah, it's cool because like you have to like train the militia, and like as you start to take over the country, she'll send out soldiers to try and take like cities that you've left unguarded.
It's
a female dictator. Yeah.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Now you're blowing my mind. Just pulled some
Glass
24
ceiling.
shit, dude.
Out.
Oh, wow.
That
was the thing. Like, dude, women are fighting. They're so hard, man. Like, they want equal pay, equal dictatorship
Straight to
opportunities.
dictators.
That is like the glass ceiling. Like, there's no women dictator. Being a dictator is mostly based on like oppression of women and like minorities.
It's based
and,
on
like,
being a dick.
Yeah.
Being a dictator.
Exactly.
It's in the name.
Like, if you're a woman dictator,
that's awesome.
Anything's possible.
She's kind of a cool bitch too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
You could send her flowers through this because there's like
man, that's an insult. That's an insult.
It's awesome. Because there's this like laptop that you use, and the interface is like pretty dated, but you go on this internet that they have on there, and it's fucking fantastic because it's so like Prodigy style internet.
That's great.
And like you like dial in, and you can like order her flowers, and you can take a city and then like send her like black flowers, like black roses, and and you see it like it cuts away to like little vignettes where like her she's like this little minion who comes in. Who tends to her? She's like it's like her messenger boy, and like. She like slaps him every time he does something stupid. Every time like you take over a city, and you watch him get abused through this entire game. God. And like if you send flowers to him, she just like slaps him repeatedly, and his like little avatar face gets like slowly more bruised.
Oh my god, it's dark as hell.
And it's like super dark. And you're just like, I'm doing this to this man, but then you're just like, I hate her.
But he's the minion.
I'm gonna put that glass ceiling back in place. Jesus. So that's my indie title,
dude. That sounds awesome.
It's a really cool game.
That sounds really cool.
It's a hard game to go back and play now because, like I said, it's Windows 98 style. So like it's like a little like the interface is a little old and dated, but the gameplay is really cool. And if you like strategy games, it's actually really fun.
Sure, but in my head, like with the Criterion thing, they get like HD
updated
remakes and like it's like better graphics.
They
and,
made
cleaned up.
There's a new version that came out that was I think it's an MMO. I'm not positive. There's a new version that came out. It's free to play. I know that, but it's not really that good.
Oh,
yeah, it's lame. I was a little upset when I tried it. I was like tried it immediately, and I played it, and I was like, it's
can't go home again.
No, can't go home.
Thanks, Bon Jovi.
And then I guess my mainstream game would be Half-Life 2. I would have to go with.
There's a lot on that though too. Kind of like Portal, isn't there? Aren't there like?
I don't know.
I
if
could
there's
be totally
director
wrong.
commentary for it. I don't think there is.
I feel like the orange box had shit in it.
I don't know. I've never actually looked into that. I just love that game for similar to Portal. It does this great job of telling a story by not telling a story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love that about it. Like I love just how you can read into the story as much as you want, and there's stuff to be found in the world that you can go seek out.
That's cool.
And that'll tell you more of the story. But they don't go out of the
stuff like that.
Yeah, man. it's like you live in a real world, and you're like, I can read these newspapers on this wall, and it'll tell me like what happened right before I got here in this game. Like that's what's like so cool about it, and it's like my favorite.
It's not married anymore.
No, my ring fell off.
My favorite directors and writers. What I like about them is it's like the J.J. Abrams mystery box thing. Like I like not knowing what's in the box.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's the better part, man. Like everybody thinks it's about the destination. It's not about the destination. No. It's about journey. Like that's why I'll always love Lost, because it's like the show is so much better in my head for the unanswered questions than it ever will be for like the answered questions and what everything means and stuff. I think that's great, man. And you guys keep talking about Half-Life, and it makes me want to play it so bad.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It's gonna have to be a ContinueCast game.
Yeah, it is.
All right, then we should do that.
It's a really good game.
Post Smart Guys.
Yes.
I'm going to pull Luke Brown here and pick more than two things.
Wow.
I don't think I'm going to allow that. I only allow that from Luke because I'm afraid of him.
My first,
Josh, there's a limited number of things that can be entered in the Criterion Collection. They only give out so many numbers per thing. So
I'm annexing it.
The three of us will be the Criterion Committee, and we'll decide.
You hear that,
which
Satchel?
Ones?
We have to.
I know which one you're going to not pick.
We're going to smash his dreams.
I know it's going to be Leisure Suit Larry. I know it is.
Damn, I know.
Is it?
No. I've never played that, actually.
You never played that game?
Unfortunately.
Dude, that game rules.
We'll have a porn ContinueCast one day.
I don't need to play it, Paul. I lived it.
My first mainstream game I would pick KOTOR.
Yeah.
I want to know, like, I'm Nick and I love Star Wars. Paul, I don't know if you love Star Wars or not. You're kind of an idiot.
Okay. Jesus.
You don't like it as I'm
jaded on it.
You're a little jaded.
I'm hurt by it.
Yeah. I'm like a Star Wars historian, as MC Chris would say.
Yeah.
So I like to know how they came up with those characters and like why they picked the time frame they picked, and mostly for like a story point of view. It's fascinating to me, you know. So that's my first one. The second one, I think, also a Star Wars game, Battlefront.
Yeah, man.
Especially because like 3 was supposed to come out.
Yeah.
And there was that trailer
what is coming out now?
Well, now it's coming out.
Yeah.
But there was a 3 trailer with like cutscenes and gameplay before they announced this, and it was like this like what could have been game.
Yeah, you went into space, right? Then you hop in a ship and fly off into space. Right?
Yeah, in 2 you can go into space, but in 3 you fly from the planet into
from the ground
space,
to space,
which was
like
crazy. Really cool. So I think that would be like a great story when the third one does finally come out, to like this journey this freaking game took forever.
Yeah.
We used to have like band practice. Like I was in a couple bands in high school, and we would just not practice, and we were just playing.
Yeah. So you weren't in a band.
Well, no.
So you were in a Battlefront.
I was in like 1.5 bands. One was like serious. The other one was like, let's play Battlefront.
No, but I think that's good, man, because it's like that story alone, like what happened, you know, is like worth it, you know. Like,
I figured I'd pick one that was like mainly for like the game design, and then the other one for like reality.
Should it be in the Criterion because it's a good story?
I was gonna say movie. Like, should Don Quixote be in there then?
Yeah, no, I think
Don Quixote
like Man from La Mancha, like that should be in the Criterion Collection.
You could make like a documentary about it, you know. It's like Indie Game the movie, you know. That's kind of like a Criterion.
You can make Lost in La Mancha, which will be a better movie than
the
movie that doesn't exist
ever could. Dude, every year I hear like, oh, he's gonna try and do it this year.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's never gonna do it. There's no way, dude. Nobody is going to give Terry Gilliam any more money. They'll give it to Battlefront or Star Wars Battlefront 3 before they give it to Terry
fucking Gilliam. Yeah, dude. And my lesser known game, SimAnt.
Do you want
best game ever made?
You want a SimAnt remake?
I love SimAnt, dude. I'm so addicted to that
favorite part
game.
of SimAnt? Vomit feeding.
Oh yeah, yeah, dude. You mentioned Play This Now.
Yeah.
And I did a Play This Now on it. I was actually looking through all the old assets we have.
Oh, again.
And I found all the fucking
that's great.
assets for Play This Now and shit. And I was like, oh man.
Dude, good old Cement.
So we got to vote.
Wow, which one are you gonna pick?
It's tough. Satchel, I'm gonna make you go first.
Wait, continue or game over?
No, you have to vote one of his selections out of the running because he can only put 2 in.
I'm gonna vote out Battlefront.
Boom! We're not friends. I'm just kidding.
I'd almost have to agree because like the story is great, but like the making of is just like, well, we did Battlefront 1 and everybody was like, why can't you play a Jedi? And we're like, all right, we'll put Jedi in there. Right. And then they were like, why can't you go in space? Well, we put space in there and end of behind the scenes thing. You know what I mean? But like, it's still a great game. It's just like they're already going to do a Criterion version, and it's going to be Battlefront 3.
You guys are haters.
I'm taking Battlefront out.
Unanimous.
I'm taking Battlefront out because of the music of that band that it robbed from us.
Yeah, dude. We could have got something great.
I can give you a fucking CD of shittily recorded music if you want.
Thank you for listening to the ContinueCast. Our theme music is written and performed by Chris Connolly, aka DataCats. Check out his Facebook page at facebook.com/datacats. The ContinueCast is produced by Paul Ritchie, Nick Murphy, Josh Henderson, and our special guest, Luke Brown. Email us at continuepodcast@gmail.com. Like us on Facebook at facebook.com/continueshow, and follow us on Twitter at Continue Show.
Hey everybody, this is Luke. My wife and I are game journalists, and we're currently working in the industry. And she, along with about 50 other members of the game journalism industry, some people from game development, and the mental health profession, have started a new initiative called the Take This Project. And if it's alright with you, I'd like to share their mission statement. Mental health is a hard thing to talk about. Depression and anxiety can be overwhelming, but so easily dismissed as just feeling sad or needing to relax. It's far too easy to simply not talk about these problems. They sap your motivation and self-worth, making you feel like nobody cares about your suffering, and so we suffer alone, quietly. The Take This Project understands the complex reality of these problems, the immense relief on a day when you feel great, the sinking feeling when you sense the trap doors start to open underneath you, and the simple exhaustion of living when you're at your worst. It's dangerous to go alone. Take This is meant as a helping hand. We're here for empathy and for support. We share our stories and our time in the hope that anyone who is living with a mental health issue doesn't have to go through it by themselves. We've been there. We've had loved ones who have been there. And we want to help. We want to talk. We want to hear from you. We want you to live the life you deserve. Take This. The Take This project consists of around 50 members from within games journalism, games development, and the mental health profession and other industries, and is a new outreach program which you can reach on Facebook at facebook.com/takethisproject and can be found on Twitter at takethisproject. So that's something that we're helping out with, and it would be great if you guys could check it out and continue to give us support, and we'll give you support.